the one, the only, Ben Sion.
Good evening and welcome to Yeshiva YouTube. Sechas Gittin, we're doing just Daf Samech is tonight, number 60. That means we're pretty much two-thirds of the way through Masechas Gittin. I believe it's about 90 dafim. It's pretty good. Tonight's shir is a lot to do with Torah Shebachtav and Torah Shabbat, contrasting Torah Shebachtav and Torah Shabbat. There's a famous halacha the Gemara quotes in this daf that basically Torah Shebachtav is not allowed to technically be said Baal Peh. You're not supposed to read the Torah or quote psukim from the Torah unless you're reading. And also Torah Shabbat Peh should not be written down. That's the big discussion. How we have even Hard Scroll, have Gemaras. It's all based on the Gemara at the end of Mesechus Brachos. That Rebbe Heferus forgetting the Torah. I have a little different explanation I'm going to share with you tonight on Iyot Ben Sion, which throws a curveball around that, and maybe it's not such a bad thing that the Torah is written down. A little different explanation of what it means that Torah shall pass, should not be written down. Talk about what Torah shall pass is. It's a very fundamental share, but you have to wait till Iyot Ben Sion to hear my real thoughts about that. Let's start from the bottom of Nun Teramid Beis. Shalchu le b'nei Galila, the Rabbi Chelba, the last line. The people of Galil, northern Israel, sent to Rabbi Chelba, Acharehen mi Koren. Right? We know the Mishnah says Kohen Levi and then Yisrael. Right? On Shabbos or Yantiv or Yom Kippur, there's more Aliyahs. Who reads after them? What's the order? Is there any order? Which Yisraelim have precedence? Love b'yada. He didn't know the answer. Asa Shaila Rabbi Nafcha. Top of Samach and Al. Yes, Rabbi Nafcha. Amalei Acharehen Koren Talmid Chacham Munim and Parnasam Al Tzibur. The first one, Shlishi, goes to the Talmid Chacham, who is also the leader. And then the fourth Aliyah goes to a Talmid Chacham, who technically would be worthy of being a leader. There's just not enough positions around. The fifth Aliyah, Chamishi, would go to the children of Talmid Chachamim, who are the leaders. Shishi should go to the people. Our school translates it as the Gabayim. The people are the Gabayim. Usually the Gabayim get the last Aliyah. And I guess anyone can get Shvi. Shvi is like the worst. Again, the people of the Galil send the Rabbi Chelba. Are you allowed to read from Chumashim? Now Chumashim basically is Sefer Bereshis or Sefer Shmos that was written on a cloth. Just wasn't written in the whole Sefer Torah. Talks about at the end of Mesechus Megillah, these type of scrolls. Are you allowed to read it B'tzibur for the Kriyas HaTorah on Monday and Thursday on Shabbos? Love b'yada, he didn't know. Asa Shaila Rebbe Nachman, yesterday Rebbe Nachman, love b'yada, he didn't know. Asa Shaila ben Rasha. They asked the base medrash Pashtua, and they answered Mahad Amar Shmuel Bar Amar Rabbi Yochanan Sefer Torah Shachasar Yariah Achas Ein Koren Bo. Rabbi Yochanan says a Sefer Torah that's missing even one page, right? You can't, and certainly even, right? The halakha is even one letter, technically. So, certainly if you have Sefer Bereshis, with missing the other four Sfarim, it's not good. Viloi, the Gemara concludes that's not the right maskana. Hasam Michsar B'Milsei. There, if it has basically a whole Sefer Torah, it's just missing one page, right? One cloth, so then it was supposed to be the whole Torah, but it's missing what it's supposed to have. Hachal Michsar Miltei. Here you intended to write the only Sefer Bereshis, and you have everything. So they say technically you're not supposed to use Chumashim to read from a basic Knesset, Mishum Kvod Tzibur, because it's degrading to the Tzibur. Why is it degrading to the Tzibur? Because if they were rich, they would have a real Sefer Torah. They bought $50,000, but they're poor and they can't afford it. So it's disgraceful to a Tzibur to show that they're poor. So technically, you're not supposed to use these things for Kriyas HaTorah. Rabbi Yosef Dami Darvayu, Hay Sefer after Rasa. Asr lemikra b'Shabbos. My time. Lo nisan likosev. Right. We know that the Haftorah is read from different places in Nach and the Vim and Ksuvim, different places in Vim and Ksuvim. Right. They used to write maybe on a scroll all the different Haftorahs. They didn't have to write all the other parts of Nach. They just used it for the Haftorah. Can you use that on Shabbos? So they say also lemikra b'Shabbos. My time. Lo nisan likosev. You can't write something like that. You have to write the entire Nevi'im and Ksuvim. Mar Rav Ashi Amar You can't even carry it on Shabbos. My time with the halachazi lemikre. You can't read it, so you can't use it. It's muksa, velohi. Halacha is it's not like that. Shari tatule b'shari lemikre. Not only can you move it, you also could use it. The Rabbi Yochanan Hashem in Lakish ma'ayni b'sifra de'agata b'shapsa. They would actually look at a sefer about Agada. Now Agada, like certain Gemaras, which have the Chorban, it was written down, right? The Agadatas of Shas were written down in the time of Rabbi Yochanan and Shimon ben Lakish. V'halo nisan likasev. But technically, not supposed to write Torah Shabbal Peh, not supposed to write it down. Ella came in the left shar since they couldn't remember all the Agadat. Agadatas are hard to remember more than halachas. Therefore, when you're stuck, right, you nullify the Torah, right? When you're stuck, the Torah says this is the halacha, but you're in a situation where it's impossible to follow the Torah. So we invoke the rule that says in Tehillim, you nullify the Torah, right? Practicality rules over fundamentalism. Right? You don't say, I'm going to take fundamentalism to the grave, or literalism to the grave. If it's not possible. This is only talking about Ben Adam al-Makom. If Ben Adam al-Chavero, you have no right to hurt your friend. Here also, there's no other way to do it. Right? Apparently, it was too expensive to write the entire knockdown, so therefore, it was okay. Abaye asked Rabba, right? You want to write, the Tinok is learning, let's say, Parshas Noach or something like that. You just want to write Parshas Noach down on a clock. Can you do that? So the Gemara says, and we can see where Machlok is coming up on this daf. How was the Sefer Torah communicated from Hashem to Moshe? Did Hashem give one parsha at a time, and Moshe ran one parsha down at a time, or was the Torah given as one unit to Moshe Rabbeinu at the end of Sefer Dvarim? You could ask this question according to both opinions. The Torah Megillah Nitna came in the Megillah Nitna, since it was given in units, kosman. So therefore, it makes sense that you could write, just like it was given in units, you can write down units. Dilma came in the idbuk, and once since at the end the Torah was joined together, so therefore you can't do it. You could even ask the question according to the other opinion that it was given in its entirety. It came in the chasuma nisna and kosman. Right? Ostensibly, that's the conclusion you make. Since it was given as one unit, you can't write it down. Dilma came into Efshar Kasfina. Since it's not possible to teach, you can't give a Sefer Torah to each kid. You can give out a Sefer, right, which is the minhag. You give out, you have separate chumashim that have, one parsha in it. So therefore, Kasfina, Amalei Ein Kosman. So the reason you're allowed to do it for us is because it's printed. It's not, we're talking about writing on cloth. Amalei Ein Kosman, Amatam. What's the reason? Lafisha and Kosvin. Because, that's a little confusing what the Gemara is saying, but the article explains basically is because we basically hold, like the Mandamar Torah Chasuma Nisna, Torah was given in its entirety, and therefore it makes sense, logically, that you shouldn't write part of the Torah down. Asive, ask a question. Afi asa tavla shal zav shaparsha sota ksuba. We learned this is in Mesechus Yuma, it's also talked about Mesechus Sota, right? Hilmi Malka, she made a big table of gold in the Beis HaMikdash, where the Parsha of Sota was written down, where they have to copy, the Kohen would copy the Parsha of Sota onto the Megillah when the Sota, right, the procedure of Sota was done in the Beis HaMikdash. And that was part of the Torah. How could you write part of the Torah down? It wasn't written down the entire words. It was written the Roshei Tevos, right? The first letter of each word. That's okay. Esive. That's another question. Kashu Kosev Roa. When the Kohen copies from the tabla, the table that she made, Viroa v'Kosev Mash Kosev tabla. He's looking what's written and he copies it. So the Gemara says, "Ema Kimasha Kosev tabla." Like what it's written, it's not entirely written there. Just like we said, the initials. Esive. Further our question. Kashu Kosev Roa b'tabla v'Kosev Masha Kosev tabla. What was written? Im shachav, im lo shachav, right? Which starts talking about the psukim, right? It says im shachav. This doesn't say aleph shin, right? Or aleph lamed shin. It says the words. How come I ask? My answer is b'sirugit. It's talking about where it was written down. the first couple words of the pasuk were written down, and then the rest was not written down. It was just initials. The first couple words were the actual words, but the rest was skipped, and they just wrote initials. Kitanai. It's a machlokas tanayim, whether you can write down a portion of the Torah. In Kosvin, Tana comes in Kosvin Megillah Tinok Listamidba. You can't write a portion down. But if you're writing an entire Sefer Torah and you haven't finished yet, so he could learn from whatever's written yet. According to Tanakam, you can't write partially down. He says if you could, technically according to Rabbi Yehuda, if you want Bereshis, though, you have to write from the Bereshis to Dor HaMabel, which is one unit. It has to be at least a unit, because the opinion holds Megillah, and Nitma was given as unit. It has to be a substantial unit. And if you want a Vayikra at the beginning, you have to read from Vayikra to the beginning of Parsha Shmini. Amar Rabbi Yochanan Shum Rabbi Noah Torah Megillah Nitma. Let's see the Machlokas. Rabbi Yochanan says in the name of Rabbi Noah, Torah was given to Moshe Rabbeinu as units. Shenemar Az Amarti Nebati Megillah Sefer. David says it's possible. I'm coming with Megillah Sefer. He says this in Tehillim. Cost of Allah. It was written in the Megillah Sefer, reference to the Torah, right? So it says Megillah. Megillah, from Megillah Esther, the class of Megillah Esther is a portion. It's not the entire Torah. Torah Chasumanis. Reish Lakish says it was given as a unit. Shenemar Lakoach as a Sefer Torah, as those says in the Torah. Take this Torah. Right, Hashem was giving the Torah to Moshe, one unit. V'idach. What about the other? Nami haksiv lakoach. So what does Rabbi Yochanan do with the pasuk lakoach? Hula basar de idbek. After it was stuck together, everything put together. So then take the entire Torah. V'idach. Nami haksiv Megillah Sefer. What does Reish Lakish do with the pasuk of Megillah Sefer? Cost of Allah. Hu the kol Torah kula ikra Megillah. Torah is also called Megillah. Chsiv. Vayomer lai ma taroeh. Vayomer ani roeh Megillah afa. This is in, I believe, Zechariah, a nevuah he had. He references the Torah. He calls it a Megillah. The Torah also is called a Megillah sometimes. Inami, alternatively, the Rabbi Levi, the Amar Rabbi Levi, Shmona Parshios Nem Rabbi Yom Shehukam Bo HaMishkan. The time that Moshe Rabbeinu first inaugurated the Mishkan, they wrote a whole Sefer Torah, but they wrote down, at that time, 8 of the Parshios in the Torah, and they filled in the rest later. So that's what it means. That when David was saying Megillah Sefer, he was referencing that time, but it was just meant at that time. But they did fill in the rest of the Torah later. The Amar Levi Shmona Parshas never be Yom Shulchan Mishka Alien Parsha. What are the Parshas? Parshas Kohanim, the Parsha in Amor, which talks about the laws of the Kohanim. Parshas Leviim, and talks about Sefer Midbar Leviim. Parshas Tmeim, the Parsha of Tmeim, people who can't bring the car and Pesach. Parshas Shiluach Tmeim. It says Vayikra, sending people who are tummy out of the Machna. Parshas Acharemos talks about Avod on Yom Kippur. Top of Samach Hamad Beis, Parshas Shtuya Yayin, and Vayikra talks about people who are intoxicated. They can't enter the base of Migdash. Parshas Neiros, beginning of Parshas Baloscha, talks about lighting of the Neiros. Parshas Para, we know the beginning of Parshas Chukas. Paraduma. Amar Lazar, Torah Rov B'Chsav Miyud Al Peh. Lazar says most of Torah is actually found in the Sefer Torah. A minute part of it is Al Peh. Shenamar Echtov Lo Rov Torasi. Well, because I'll write Ruby Torasi, most of my Torah. Kamo Zar Nechshavu. Right? Even though I wrote most of my Torah right down, the people treated it, the Navi is saying, the people treated it like foreigners. Rov Al Peh. Most of the Torah is Al Peh. Umiyat Bichtav. It's a very interesting machlokas, right? And very little is written down. I mean, it's the same 630 mitzvahs according to Rabbi Elazar and Rabbi Yochanan. We have to explain this machlokas. I'll explain it more in Yud Ben Sion. Hashem says about the Torah, Al Pi, it's Be'al Peh, orally. Most of it is orally. Ruby Torasi. What does Rabbi Yochanan do with the pasuk about Rov Torasi? The Navi is basically in astonishment. He's wondering, even if I were to write Rov of the Torah, it's still being treated like foreigners. Most of the Torah is Baal Peh, but even if I wrote Rov of the Torah, it's treated like Zarn. What does Rabbi Elazar do with the pasuk Al Pi Advar Ma'ila? Who mishum that kifi lemigmarinu? Al Pi Advar Ma'ila is sort of a ranch for the whole Torah, right? Oh, it sounds like most of the Ruba Kukula, most of the Torah is Al Peh. it's considered, even though it's a miyut, it's considered a minority of the Torah, since it's very difficult to transmit this Torah, the Torah Sheba'al Peh, to learn it, to understand it. So therefore, it's considered the Torah. That's what Hashem is saying. Al pi advarim ha'ela. I made this covenant. I made this covenant to you because it's so hard to learn. It makes it like it's like the entire Torah. Rabbi Yehuda bar Nachmani, Metorgmei de Rabbi Shimon ben Lakish. Rabbi Yehuda bar Nachmani, who was the translator for Rabbi Shimon ben Lakish, Kasav l'chas advarim ha'ela. Says one pasuk, write these words down. This pasuk Rabbi Yochanan quoted. Right. These are both psukim in the Sefer Torah. One is right and one is al peh. It's a dvarim shebechtav. So how do you resolve these psukim? Dvarim shebechtav, things which are written down. I'm going to translate it the way almost everyone understands it. Dvarim shebechtav, Torah shebechtav, right? The one they read in the shul, right? The chumash, you can't say words. You can't say psukim. You're not supposed to say psukim. You're not supposed to quote psukim by heart, unless there's something part of the tefillah, something everybody knows. You're not supposed to say psukim bal peh, even if you're a bal koreh. You're supposed to read it from the Torah. But dvarim shebal peh, and things which are bal peh, oral Torah, which is the Gemara, basically. Well, right? You're not allowed to write it down. And to resolve the fact that we have a hard scroll and we have all the Gemaras written down, we rely on the Gemara, the numbers of Brachos, that Rebbe says that Eis last he wrote the Mishnayos down. Devei Yishmael Tana Eila Ata Kosev Viata Kosev Halachos. You read these things, the words of the Sefer Torah, you write down the halachos, that right, the Torah Sheba'al Peh should not be written down. Amar Rabbi Yochanan, Kadosh Baruch Hu bris im Yisrael el b'shvil dvarim sheba'al peh. Kadosh Baruch Hu only made a covenant with Klal Yisrael, meaning be a bond to Klal Yisrael, that He'll be their God and they'll be His nation. Im Yisrael el b'shvil dvarim sheba'al, because of the Torah Sheba'al Peh. Shneimar al pi dvarim ha'ila karaski es chabris ve'es Yisrael. Pasuk says, based on these words, these oral words, Hashem made a covenant with Yisrael. The Mishnah says, Ma'arvin v'ayis yashum nehadarche shalom. When you make an Erev Echatzeros, it's always placed in the same house. You can't switch houses. My time, what's the reason? Kavod, right? Because it's a slight to someone's honor. You say he had the Erev and now he loses his honor, right? Normally, if someone has an honor, he's the Baal Tokeya or he's a Chazan, right? You can't take that away from him because you're slighting his honor. Haoshi Pura, but it's not true. There was a shofar, the Hava Mikara Be'Rav Yosef, L'Sof Be'Rabel, L'Sof Be'Rav Yosef, L'Sof Be'Abayel, L'Sof Be'Rava. There was a shofar that was blown on Erev Shabbos in order to warn people that Shabbos was coming. It went from one house to another house. So we see we're not always concerned for a kavod. Ela Mishum Chashada. By Erev Echatzeros, since it's custom to be in someone's house, if you go into the person's house and you see it's not there, you have a chshad and you think they're not keeping the halachas of Erev Chatzeros, that's why. Borsho Karav La'ama. The Mishnah continues things they did in Darkei Shalom. Borsho Karav La'ama, a pit which is close to the stream of water. Itmar. We actually talk about some monetary halachas over here. Itmar. B'nei Nahara. Right, let's say you have a stream of water running downstream and you have a bunch of fields alongside the stream. Rav Amar Tatai Shasu Maya Bereisha. Who can take water first from this to irrigate their field? Who has the first rights to irrigation? The Shmuel Me'ilai Shasu Bereisha. He says from the top, the fields on the top where the stream starts, they get water first. They're not arguing when the case where the water is flowing down and everyone can get water. They can take whatever they want. No one cares, right? If they all can take whenever they want. Right? If the water is raging so fast that the people at the top really can't take it, right? So you have to basically dam the water so it'll stop, right? And they have to dam in order to be able to irrigate to take water from the river or the stream and irrigate their fields. Shmuel says the top of the stream, the fields there are able to take water first. We're close to the source of the water. Rav says no, that the ones at the bottom of the river, they get first. Right? Technically, the bottom ones could take water. By the time it gets downstream, it's not flowing as strongly. They don't need technically to dam the water. They dam the water for the top one. So they say, let the water flow as it is, and we can take. You're the ones who can't take, so we should take first. We're damming the river for you. Tanana. Our Mishnah says, Bora Karov La'am Mismali Rishon, Nedarche Shalom. A cistern, a well that's close to the Amma, to the river, that gets filled up first, Nedarche Shalom. So this is a question. It's a question really on Rav, right? Rav says that the last one, right? So here you see the first one. Talking about Shmuel, I'll leave with Rav. Shmuel even answered for Rav. That's talking about a case where the river is basically flowing right in. He has a well, and the water falls into his bore. Of course, if the water goes in by itself, of course, they don't have to take the water out. You might think, no, even though it's flowing into his well, they could say, we'll stop up the water before it gets to your well. And you could take basically the water that shoots out, right? Kamash Malan, we don't say that. Hold on a second. Sorry, I got it wrong. Sachar Miskar, meaning put a covering on your cistern, on your well. And Ashki Behandaza, I mean, water your fields, what you happen to draw from the channel, just as we do, right? Because basically he's taking all the water. By you taking all the water, you're reducing the flow of the stream. Kamasha, we don't say stop up your well. Amar Rav Huna Bar Tachlifa Hashid Lo Itmar Hilchasa Lokamar V'Lokamar. We don't know the lachas like Rav or Shmuel. Called the Olam Gavar. Basically, you take matters into your own hands. It's a very interesting halacha. Then basically the Gemara says fight over it. Whoever take it to the Gentile court or fight over it, however you settle the matter. Rav Simi Barashi also looked made Abai. Rav Simi Barashi came in front of Abai. Amar lei losvan mar beidna. He said, I want to learn a charusa with you. Amar lei isli idna lididi. He says, at the time is for myself. I need to learn by myself. Velosvan mar belelia. So teach me at night. Let's have a charusa at night. Amar lei isli maya lashkui. I have a field. I have a parnasa. I have to water my fields at night. Amalei ana mashkina le lamar maya bimama. I'll take care. I'll irrigate your fields during the day. Los famar belelia, and you'll have free time at night to learn with me. Amalei lechai. So Abaye agreed to this. Azal li'ila. So he wanted to take the shortcut. Seeing Rashi, he wanted to make it easy for himself to irrigate Abaye's fields. He went to Abaye's field was sort of in the middle of the fields that were next to the stream of the water. He went to the fields on top. Amalu tatai shamasa shasumaya bereisha. He said the halacha is like Rav. You can't take first. Azal tatai, he went to the ones on the bottom. You can't take first. The upper ones take first. Adahachi, while each of them, I guess, was hesitant to take water because they thought the halacha was like the other one. Sachar Miskar, he put a dam in the river in the middle where Abaye's field, Ashki, and he filled up Abaye, irrigated Abaye's field. He also made Abaye. When he came from Abaye, Amalei Kibetre Avadli. Abaye was very upset with him. You didn't paskin not like Rav or like Shmuel. Below Taminu, Abaye the period who shas. He was very machmer Abaye. He didn't want to benefit from the fruits that grew during that year, from the crop that grew during the year, because according to him it was gezel, right? You have to paskin or like Rav or like Shmuel or called Alam Var. He used trickery. Just, you don't use trickery to make time to learn. Shasa Hanu Be Becharmach, the Azol Karu Beresha. There was a place in Becharmach. They dug a hole. The Shanvasa Vajrua B'Shadua B'Shili Nahara. Basically, what happened was their field was not along the stream. It was a little bit far away from the stream. So they took the flow of the stream and they irrigated it so it would come to their field. And then after it finished watering their field, it would go back to the rest of the stream. They technically didn't have a right to do this. Also, the fields that were next to the top of the stream came to Abaye. Amru like hamiskil and aharin, right? By taking water, making it flow, elongate the flow of water, right? It's thinning out the supply of water. Amru karu he said, try to work it out. If you dig a little deeper, so that there'll be more water. It'll be a bigger flow, and there'll be more water for everybody. Amar like kayav shin period. If we dig a little deeper, right? So what's going to happen is that our fruits are going to dry out because not every year there's going to be enough rainwater, right? The irrigation only starts from where the water level is. Some years there's not as much rainwater, So if we dig deeper, so we're not going to get rainwater during those years. So once Abai heard that Zilu Sliku Nafshayim Nahasam, he says it's illegal what you're doing. You can't do that. Your field is not along the stream. If you want water, you're gonna have to pay for it, but you can't go ahead and divert the run of the stream of the water and take money for yourselves. It's the conclusion of tonight's share. Stay tuned for Ian Ben Sion, where I talk about the fundamental difference between Torah Shebechtav and Torah Shebal Peh. Ian Ben Sion coming up next.